Live weapons over freeway. The surreal warning to drivers in the lead up to Saturday's 5 freeway closure near Camp Pendleton. The Marines holding military drills Saturday with Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth looking on. Governor Newsom ordered a section of the 5 shut down near the base. As live ammunition was fired over the freeway, something went very wrong. One of the artillery rounds exploded prematurely over the freeway. Shrapnel landed on one of their cruisers and near a CHP officer. Governor Newsom posting this photo of what the munition looked like.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. How many times have I said that Pete Hegseth is going to get someone killed? His incompetence, his vanity, his desperate desire to use the United States military to compensate for his own deep insecurities. We very nearly experienced a major tragedy because of that. Thank goodness Gavin Newsom had the sense to shut down the freeway over which that artillery round exploded. And of course, not a word from Republicans about it. Here's what Mike Levin, the Democrat in whose district Camp Pendleton sits, had to say.
This is ridiculous that live fire ammunition was shot over the 5 freeway. What are they doing? And who is responsible? We need to get to the bottom of it. At the end of the day, the Marine Corps are better than this. I know they're better than this. The community knows they're better than this. And just common sense needs to prevail here.
I had to get Kris Goldsmith's take on all this. You know him as the founder of Vets Fighting Fascism. He is literally a professional Nazi hunter, which makes him very busy these days. But in his army days, and I didn't realize it until this interview, Kris was an artilleryman. He lays out just how dangerous, how insane this Marine Corps exercise was, all to inflate the egos of 2 very small men. Here's part 1 of our conversation. You may notice our matching anti-fascist book club merch. The link to the store is in the notes below. Here's me and Kris. Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show. We got Kris Goldsmith back, the founder of Veterans Fighting Fascism, an Army vet, not an artilleryman, but Kris.
No, I was.
You were.
Forward observer.
You were, well, my joke doesn't work now, but look, I was going to say even I could have told Pete Hegseth that firing a 105 millimeter round over I-5 during the day was a bad idea. I think we need a new segment on this show. Stupid things Pete Hegseth did this week or this Tuesday, because it's nonstop.
Yeah. So I was a forward observer. Which if you've ever watched a Tom Hanks war movie, whether it's Band of Brothers or even Forrest Gump, there's always a point when the infantry is like walking through the jungle or walking through a city, and they get pinned down because all of a sudden there's like machine gun fire coming from the distance. And during those clips, you always see some nerd with glasses laying on his side, yelling into what looks like a telephone, and then things start blowing up. That was my job. I was the nerd with the glasses. I was the guy whose job it was to rein in hell on our enemies, or at least that's what I was trained for. And the 155 artillery round was kind of my bread and butter. It was one of the most common things used in training. I trained to be an artilleryman, to be a forward observer at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And the 155, 155 millimeter in diameter artillery round has a 50 meter kill radius. A radius is from the center. So 50 meters that way, 50 meters that way, draw a circle, right? So that's 100 meters wide. That's the kill radius. That is the expected result of any infantry or vehicle that is inside that radius. It has a casualty radius of 150 meters. So you were talking about 3 football fields stacked end to end and then make that a circle. That is a really dangerous round, and you should not be firing it over civilian infrastructure, particularly a highway. When it's not completely closed down. And you certainly shouldn't be firing it over the convoy that the Vice President of the United States is in or belongs in.
Do you ever fall in love with a couch online like that's the one, and then see the price tag and feel personally attacked? I've been there. That's where dupe.com comes in. It's a ridiculously smart tool that helps you find high quality, budget friendly versions of the expensive stuff you've been eyeing. And it couldn't be easier. Just type a / in front of any product URL and Dupe instantly shows you lookalikes that don't require a second mortgage. And here's the best part. These aren't cheap knockoffs. A lot of them are made in the exact same factories, just sold under a different name. That $6,000 cloud couch that every influencer seems to be napping on, Dupe will probably find it for about $1,200. Same vibe, same comfort, no need to sell a kidney. And it's not just furniture. Dupe works for clothes, shoes, jewelry, all of it. If you're in the business, interior designers, realtors, stagers, Dupe even has a trade program that lets you buy direct from manufacturers and earn a 10% commission on purchases through your account. It's free, it's fast, and honestly, a little addictive. If you've got expensive tastes and a very inexpensive budget, Dupe.com might just be your new best friend. Dupe.com really is so easy to use. Just type dupe.com / before any product URL in your browser, and boom, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account required, no sign up required. It's completely free to use. Stop wasting money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today. Hey everyone, it's Ken. Quick break here to say thanks for watching and a huge shout out to everyone who supported my most recent reporting trip to Ukraine. I hope you followed the updates on Substack. I reported from Chernobyl, from Kyiv and Odessa, and from frontline positions alongside some of the bravest people I have ever met. If you haven't yet signed up for my Substack, please check it out. It's free to join. The link's below. Thanks. It's a game to these guys. Look, I'm going to throw up a video right here as I'm talking just to show the contrast between the professionalism I saw embedded with a 152 millimeter crew in Ukraine, literally engaging Russians while I was there, and the clown show that has become Pete Hegseth's Department of Defense. Now, the thing that struck me about these Ukrainians is just how professional and humble and quiet they were about what they were doing. They didn't need to show off. They gave me the chance to lift one of these rounds. It's a 40 kilogram, and this is the 152, right? I can't imagine how much heavier the 155 is. And these guys are throwing them around, loading them into the cannon because you got to move fast. I mean, that is a real test of manhood. Women can do it too, right? But I'm saying that because I think what we observe in these demonstrations by Hegseth and Vance is just how deeply insecure they are. They need the American military, the U.S. Marine Corps, to fluff them. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what this was.
Yeah. So let me be, very clear about what happened. There was a 155 round that was set to detonate as an airburst, meaning that it was on a timer, and someone, at a computer is charged with, figuring out how to, what setting to put the timer on. What we used to call gun bunnies, the artillerymen who load the cannon would set the round, and it would travel for a certain amount of time, a certain amount of distance from the time that it is leaves the cannon, and it blows up above the ground, right? Those timers are not perfect, right? Like everyone who serves in the military, I'm quite sure, regardless of branch, will throw at least one grenade. And that the hand grenade has a 5-second timer, but you do not cook the grenade, let go, pull the pin, let go of the clip, and sit there for 3 seconds and then throw it, because timers are not perfect and you do not want to die. So the idea that they were using airburst munitions over a highway, even though it was mostly shut down, is just crazy. And I am so surprised that
they didn't want to shut it down. It was Newsom who took a ton of flack from the Trump administration for saying, hang on, you're doing what? Mm-hmm. We're going to shut down the highway. Thank God he did.
Yeah.
Before the event, the White House and Republicans blasted Governor Newsom's shutdown order, calling it political. Some of the GOP labeling it Bridgegate. One administration official posting this Monday, "Governor, enough with the political theater. The Camp Pendleton 250th birthday celebration was an incredible victory for Marines and all Americans. No lives were endangered. Your fear-mongering insults every highly trained Marine's honor. You'll never be commander-in-chief."
Yeah. And, what is surprising to me is that commanders are not saying no. That is the type of thing that I think that every officer, starting with the general in charge of Pendleton, should have said no and been willing to resign. If you are willing to fire live rounds that have 50-meter kill radiuses over civilian infrastructure or over American civilians, you don't belong in the military. And I am saddened to know that the officer corps is acting spineless right now, because it is their job to determine what is a lawful order and what is not. And putting civilians at risk with artillery, that is not a lawful order.
Yeah, and they clearly did. I mean, the fragments rained down upon I-5. They hit vehicles that were in the vice president's security detail or motorcade. I'm not sure which. Maybe they're one and the same. And if not for Gavin Newsom exercising a little bit of responsibility and caution here, who knows what could have happened. And look, I might even take issue with your characterization of lawful, unlawful. I think we're at the point where mid-grade and certainly senior officers need to start making not just a legal calculus, but a moral calculus. I've never shared this publicly before, but I disobeyed an order once in my career, even though it was probably lawful, for a performance that would have been really stupid, flying a plane through a thunderstorm to get to an air show to impress the Japanese prime minister. Long story. And I said, I'm not exposing my crew to that risk. Court-martial me if you want to. And you know what happens in a situation like this? They back down, because you make a sensible moral decision. And when it finally makes it up the chain of command, everyone's like, well, of course. And imagine if the captain or the major or the colonel had said, I'm not going to fire that round over I-5, even if I'm ordered to. Eventually, a general would have said, way to go, because that could have ended really badly. I just think we need to start expecting more of our military in this moment to say no. That was part one of my conversation with Kris Goldsmith. In part two, out tomorrow, Kris takes to task those commanders who know better, whose training and integrity, whose oaths to the Constitution should be compelling them to say no more often to this administration. As vets, both of us are calling on our military's leadership to speak out when ridiculous demands from this administration put Americans' lives, much less our democracy, at risk. We'll see you tomorrow.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.